I'm not a first-time hiker, and I don't scare easily. I plan things out. I bring a paper map, a headlamp with spare batteries, and an actual first aid kit, not just a few band-aids in a Ziploc. I know how fast I move over rock, how long daylight lasts, and when to turn back. That morning, we picked Black Hollow Ridge in the Allegheny Mountains, mostly for the solitude and the views. If you hit the trail at sunrise, you can catch the fog lifting over the valleys and still make it home before dusk. It was early November, the trees mostly bare, air brittle, and a forecast that promised sun, but not warmth. Simple enough. There were 4 of us. Me, my friend Dylan, who always carries the med kit, his girlfriend Sierra, steady and quiet, and Ben, whose left ankle never fully healed after a snowboarding accident. We planned the standard loop, ridgeback trail up the spine, tag the overlook, descend on Birch Creek Path, and walk out Firebreak Road to the parking lot near Blair's Run. 9, maybe 10 miles. We packed microspikes in case the shaded ledges had ice. Dylan brought a can of bear spray, just in case. We joked about over-preparing. We hit the trail just as the sun came up, pale light filtering through the leafless branches. Our breath puffed white in the air, blue blazes on gray rock, frost on the edges of oak leaves, the rhythm of boots on frozen soil. That's when I first saw him. A figure ahead of us, gray hoodie, wide-brimmed hat pulled low. He never looked back. He climbed with his hands jammed in his front pocket, like he didn't need balance. We called out a quick, "Heads up, slick rock ahead." He didn't respond, didn't even twitch. Fine, I thought. Some people hike to be alone. Here's the first thing that didn't make sense. We stopped at a lookout, let a pair of college hikers pass us, then fell back in. No one came up behind. But when we rounded the next bend, there he was again. The same gray hoodie, same distance ahead. There were no shortcuts, no side spurs. After the leaf drop, you can see through the trees clear as wire mesh. If he'd passed, we would have seen him. And yet, every so often, we'd spot him again, always ahead, never passing, never responding. By the time we reached the upper scramble, Ben slipped on a damp slab and twisted his ankle. No pop, no break, but pain. We sat him down, wrapped it tight, shifted some weight out of his pack, and gave him both poles. He said he could keep going, just slower. The summit was all wind and light, cold that cut through layers and made our eyes water. We stayed just long enough for a quick drink, then started down the easier side. Birch Creek Trail. It's a gentler grade, wider switchbacks. We figured we'd still beat sunset. Halfway down, Sierra pointed out deep gouges carved into a wooden trail sign, evenly spaced, not random. About a foot higher than I could reach. I didn't like how clean the lines were, like something with focus and reach had done it. Not 10 minutes later, we found tufts of white deer hair stretched in a perfect line across the trail. Not a scatter, not a kill site, just arranged. We stopped talking then. Another half mile, and a hat appeared, hanging from a branch at shoulder height. Wide crown, warped brim, dark stitching that didn't match. The top had been cut and re-sewn, like someone tried to make it fit differently. Dylan nudged it with a trekking pole. None of us said anything. By the time we reached Firebreak Road, it felt like a relief. Wide gravel, room to walk side by side. No more cliffs or blind turns. Ben set the pace. I kept my eyes down the road and on the culverts every few hundred feet. That's when I saw it. Movement by one of the drainage pipes, low to the ground, crawling on elbows and knees. It rose in a single, liquid motion into a stand that didn't look human, then stepped back into shadow. No face, just the shape of a hood. Sierra whispered, "There's a word for that. In some stories around here, things that copy people but don't move right." I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to get to the lot. We kept to the center of the road, inside the 2 tire tracks. The air near the culverts felt colder, sharp, metallic. I told myself it was just trapped wind. Then the sound shifted behind us, gravel crunching. We turned, and the man in the hoodie was 20 feet back, hat on again, moving our pace, but without sound. He tilted his head in that off-angle way that made the brim look uneven. "You good back there?" Dylan called out. No answer. Then, in a voice too careful, the man said, "I can carry him," and nodded at Ben. The words were right, but the tone was wrong, like someone repeating a line they'd memorized without understanding it. "We're okay, thanks," Dylan said, calm but firm. We tightened formation, keeping Ben in the middle. I shifted my poles out, ready. The man lifted something in his hand. "Permit," he said. It wasn't a real pass, just a sheet of clear plastic, smeared with dirt. He held it too high, and the hood shifted strangely, bulging where a head shouldn't. We didn't run, we just walked faster. He drifted toward the ditch and vanished into shadow, then appeared again at the next culvert crossing, stepping out of the drainage like he'd been inside it. Every time the road crossed a stream, he was there again. We planned on the fly. If he got too close, Dylan would spray, and we'd cut uphill through the brush to rejoin the road, beyond whatever blocked us. Better to choke on pepper spray than stop near a culvert. Then we hit the blockage. A mess of stormfall tangled across the road. Not one tree, several, their bark freshly stripped. On the far side of the debris, the man waited. Hoodie stretched tight, shoulders hunched like something underneath was the wrong shape. Wind shifted against us. Bad for the spray. We did the count anyway. 3, 2, 1. Dylan laid down a wide orange mist. We moved left into the brush. The blowback hit fast, eyes burning, throat raw. We pushed through thorns and frost, dragging Ben between us. No one stopped. I listened for water on my left, staying clear of the drainage. We hit gravel again 50 yards later, eyes streaming, coughing hard. No one spoke. We just kept walking. When we finally saw the parking lot through the trees, it felt unreal, like something we'd imagined. A white truck sat near the trailhead. A park ranger stepped out. He didn't joke, didn't smile, just asked who was hurt, what happened, what the man said, where we saw him. He wrote everything down, then said quietly, "You're not the first ones to mention a mimic out here. Same weird crown shape, and scratches on a sign 8 feet high." Ben's ankle swelled for a week, but healed fine. We still hike, but we changed some rules. No off-season treks, no late descents, and we stay clear of culverts. Always. Not because we believe in curses, but because something on Black Hollow Ridge wanted to be near us, and we didn't let it. So if you ever hike there in November, and you see a man in a gray hoodie with a wide-brimmed hat, who's always ahead of you but never passes by, don't be polite. Keep your people close. Stay in the middle of the road. And to the copycat hiker of Black Hollow Ridge, let's not meet. I'm a visiting climber from Oregon. My partner that day, Chris, grew up in Riverside and knows Joshua Tree like it's his backyard. We'd been out since late morning, Headstone Rock, Echo Cove, and a few easy classics around Hemingway Buttress. The kind of burns that leave your fingertips smooth and your forearms humming. It was a weekday in late October. Cool, blue sky, half-empty lots. The kind of perfect dry air where chalk actually works. When we packed up, Chris said, "You ever watch sunset from the backside of Hidden Valley? There's a small arch out there. Not one of the famous ones. Just a quiet little spot off an old social trail. Great view west. 10 minutes from the car. We'll be back before it's dark." I had a half coil of rope in my pack and my headlamp. He still had his rack on his harness, out of habit. A few cams, a nut tool, a water bottle that hit his thigh every step. We didn't bother pulling up a map or GPS track. The plan was simple. Park off Lost Horse Road. Follow a faint trail toward the back of the Hidden Valley Formation. Stay high and let the terrain guide us. I trusted him, and I trusted the desert. That combination almost killed us. We stepped off the gravel just after 5. Shadows were long, light bleeding sideways through the Joshua trees. At first it was straightforward. Flat sandy soil, scattered yucca, stone underfoot. Chris pointed out little things he remembered. A cholla skeleton bent like a hook, a rusted piton hammered into a boulder decades ago, a cluster of cairns someone had half kicked over. He said he'd been out here a dozen times. He said he knew the way. The first wrong thing appeared maybe 20 minutes in. On a smooth slab of granite sat the full hide of a coyote, stretched flat, flesh side up. No bones, no campfire, no tools. Like someone started skinning and then stopped. The fur still had that sheen before sun and sand dull it out. Neither of us touched it. 10 steps later, we found a wooden trail post, or what was left of one. The top half had been sanded smooth, then carved with a dozen long vertical gouges. Perfectly straight, too clean for weather. No number, no blaze, just tallies. The wind through the Joshua trees made a low animal sound. Chris kept walking. "It's just ahead," he said. "You'll see the arch once we hit the saddle." We didn't. We hit another ridge, and then another. By 6:10, with the sun grazing the granite domes, we found ourselves at a 3-way fork. Every path looked equally faint. The kind of false trails that crisscross the desert when people wander off route. I told him we should turn back. He nodded. We pivoted. That's when a voice said, just ahead through the rocks, "This way." We both stopped. It was close, too close. A man's voice, maybe a few yards ahead, between two Joshua trees. hung an orange safety vest. No person inside it, just hanging off a limb like a marker. Above it, a wide-brimmed hat tilted forward. No backpack, no gear, no sound of boots in the sand. The vest shifted left, a slow glide between the trunks, then stopped again where the trail narrowed. Chris called out, louder than usual. "Hey, what road does that connect to?" A pause. Then, the nearest. The vest moved again, not walking, more like it appeared farther down the trail each time we blinked. We followed without meaning to. The sound under our shoes, the crunch of gravel, the whisper of sand was steady. But whatever wore the vest made none of that. We asked if he worked for the park. "I work out here," it said. No name, no explanation. We stayed high. That's what you do in Joshua Tree when you're lost. You follow the rock, not the washes. The vest led us along a rising granite spine toward a shallow bowl I recognized from other parts of the park. A kind of sandstone amphitheater where all the slopes tilt gently inward until, suddenly, they don't. You can walk right off the edge before you realize it's there. I leaned close to Chris and whispered a word my grandmother used in hushed stories about the desert. "Skinwalker." He didn't look at me. He just said, louder, "We're cutting back to the road." We angled left, but couldn't pass the figure. Each time we tried, it was already waiting ahead, vest centered, hat hiding the face. No shouting, no chasing, just there. The last stretch of light bled out of the rocks as we reached the lip of that bowl. The slope below was loose gravel. Orange and red in the dying sun. Looked safe until it wasn't. At the rim, I didn't see a face, only dark. Arms that hung too low in the vest holes. A head tilt so sharp, the brim touched its shoulder. No rise or fall from breathing. It lifted one arm, slow, deliberate, and dropped its hand, palm open, like a traffic cop showing you where to go. Right over the edge. Chris moved to a boulder near the rim and did what climbers do when things don't feel right. He tested the stone, placed a nut, clipped a sling, leaned his weight. The rock flaked small grains like sugar. He didn't like it. Neither did I. He pulled the gear, coiled the sling. We backed away. The thing's head tilted farther, farther than a neck should. We decided to skirt the bowl, staying on bare granite, where our shoes could bite. Every step was slow, heel to toe. We talked in short, climbing-style calls. Good, foot left, hold there. From the brush below came a dry sliding sound. Not footsteps, not breathing. When we crossed an open patch, it was already waiting where we'd exit. Vest bright in the dim light. Chris found a small saddle he recognized, one of those natural escapes people use to cut toward the road. It led to a short down climb, 10 feet, then a narrow chute that emptied into a wash. We both knew it was our only shot. The last 20 yards were agony. Once we dropped, we'd be out of sight. I threw the rope down first. It landed on the ledge below, uncoiling like a snake. When I looked up, the vested figure was at the edge above, leaning forward, head almost upside down, watching the rope. Its arm reached down, the fingers unbent too far, long, straight, pale like bone under dust. That was enough. We went down the chute fast, sliding, scraping skin off our forearms. Rocks clattered away into the wash. We ran, not because we thought it was chasing, but because stopping wasn't. The desert was soundless, except for our breathing. Then, somewhere above, we heard the faint rattle of pebbles, not falling, placed. When the wash widened, I saw the gray line of Lost Horse Road ahead. The smell of dust and hot metal from the parked cars felt like salvation. I hit the gravel first, bent double, and threw up. Chris leaned on his knees, wheezing. Headlights rounded the bend. An old Ranger truck slowed beside us. The driver rolled down the window. "You guys all right?" He was calm, maybe 60, part patch on his sleeve. We said we were fine. He didn't press, just told us to get in. Radioed someone that he'd found 2 climbers off trail near Hidden Valley. Possible stalker or impersonator in orange vest. No lecture, no disbelief. At the ranger station near West Entrance, a younger ranger took our report. Professional, patient. He asked the right questions. Time we left, where we turned, any insignia on the vest, any tools, name tags. I told him about the coyote hide and the carved post. He wrote it down without reacting. Said they'd check the area in daylight. 2 days later, he sent a message through the park portal. They'd found a post carved with straight vertical lines near Hidden Valley, and remnants of a hide on a granite slab nearby, logged for cleanup. Case closed. That was all. We still climb Joshua Tree. You can't stay away from those roots, but we treat sunset as a hard cutoff now. And if one of us says turn back, we turn back. Chris replaced the sling he almost left on that boulder. I kept the one he pulled, twisted from that single yank. It hangs on a peg above my pack, not for luck, for memory. Because in Joshua Tree, when someone you can't quite see keeps appearing where you're already headed, it's not a shortcut, it's a lure. And if you ever find yourself out near Hidden Valley, close to dusk, and you see a flash of orange between the Joshua trees, don't follow it. The desert doesn't need witnesses. It just needs one more step. We used to visit my Aunt Carol's cabin outside Broken Bow, Oklahoma, a mile or two off Highway 259, where the gravel roads twist between pines and red dirt cuts. The cabin sat on stilts at the edge of a slow creek that fed into Broken Bow Lake. It wasn't far from town, but at night, when the wind dropped, you could hear the train whistle from Idabel 10 miles away, like it was in the next valley. It was late summer, 1998. My cousin Haley and I were 14, close enough in age to argue, but never stay mad. My mom brought us out for a long weekend because Aunt Carol said the air was cleaner and the kids could see stars the way people used to. The cabin smelled like cedar, tobacco, and old magazines. A set of wind chimes hung crooked on the porch, half the shells missing. The first day was fine. We swam in the lake, chased dragonflies, and watched deer move along the tree line near dusk. Haley found a tree frog clinging to the screen door and named it Mike. The air that night was heavy, humming with crickets and katydids. Nothing felt off. The second night changed that. Aunt Carol fried catfish for dinner, and afterward, she told Mom she was going to walk down to the creek to check the trot line before bed. She took her lantern, but the bulb was flickering. Mom told her to wait till morning. but she just laughed and said, "You don't leave a line overnight. Things get curious." She was gone maybe 15 minutes. When she came back, she locked both the door and the screen, something she'd never done before. She didn't say much, just poured herself a glass of water and stared out the window. Mom asked if she was okay. Carol said, "Somebody left a hide nailed to a cypress. Looked fresh. I'm not touching it till daylight." I remember the word hide sitting heavy in my head. That night, Haley wanted to sleep in the loft. You could see the water through the trees from the window. The boards up there creaked with every move. Around midnight, the frogs quit first, then the crickets. The air got weird. Not still, just too even. Like the world had paused between breaths. Our dog Boone lifted his head from the foot of my sleeping bag and started a low growl that built until it became a whine. He stared at the window, not moving. Haley whispered, "Deer?" It wasn't a deer. Something stood half-lit by the porch light, just beyond the swing. At first, I thought it was a person, tall, still, like they were trying to decide if they should knock. Then it moved wrong. Too many angles where joints shouldn't go. The head tilted, but the body didn't follow. The porch step creaked, and Boone backed into the shadows. Silent now, tail flat. Aunt Carol's voice came from downstairs. "Get away from that window." Calm, controlled, like she didn't want to wake whatever was listening. We climbed down the ladder. Carol had the shotgun out, but wasn't pointing it anywhere. She stood by the front door, one hand on the frame, listening. I saw her eyes track the floorboards, like she could hear something moving under them. The sound came slow, a drag and scrape, wood on wood, from beneath the cabin. You could feel it through your feet, more than you could hear it. A joist took weight with a hollow pop. Boone's hackles rose, and Haley started to cry without sound. Mom reached for the flashlight. Carol stopped her. No light, just wait. The next few seconds stretched into forever. Something shifted again under the boards, measured, careful, as if it was learning what creaked. Then it brushed the underside of the floor, right below where we stood. You could hear the difference in air pressure, like when a hand passes close to your face. Boone barked once, sharp. The sound below us stopped immediately. Then came the sound from outside, a slow pass of something along the porch rail, like fingers tapping each spindle in order. Carol moved to the window, raised the curtain just an inch, and froze. Her voice dropped so low, I almost didn't catch it. It's got her eyes wrong. Mom didn't ask what she meant. She just gathered us toward the back of the cabin and told us to stay near the storm door. Carol stepped out onto the porch, shotgun ready, and said something I didn't recognize. A sentence, maybe, or a name. But it came out like air pressed through a crack. The woods answered with nothing. No echo. Just that thick silence again. The smell reached us next. Sweet, spoiled, wet, like meat left in heat. Carol came back inside and locked everything twice. Nobody slept. Boone stayed by the door, growling in his sleep every time the boards flexed. In the morning, Carol went out alone. She found the ground under the porch torn in a grid, like something had dragged its fingers through the sand testing how deep it went. There were prints, almost human for a few steps, then narrowing into something longer, lifted onto the toes. A few clumps of hair stuck to a splintered beam, brown with a gray sheen like bark in shadow. She burned the hide she'd found by the creek and threw salt in the fire. She didn't explain, and Mom didn't ask. That night we packed. Carol sold the cabin within a month, moved closer to Durant, said the drive was too long anyway. Boone wouldn't go near any dock or crawl space after that. I still visit Broken Bow sometimes. It's beautiful in the fall. Red leaves, fog on the water, quiet in a way that feels earned. But I don't stay out after dark. And when people ask about the stories, about the old legends from the Choctaw Hills, I tell them this much. If the woods ever go silent and the air feels thick, like breath held too long, don't speak. Don't try to name what's listening. Just go home and lock the floorboards tight.